All right, can you guys all see the class okay? You can see this big screen here. Okay, cool. All right, hello. I'm going to mute a couple people that are just hopping on. I'm so glad to see all of your faces here tonight. My name, again, is Emily. You guys have seen me many times in this series of 8 classes that we've been bringing you every Sunday night for a number of weeks now. And tonight is a really special and obviously very important topic of women's health and hormones. I actually have a special guest with us tonight who hasn't been on these classes yet, but is one of my dear friends. She is also a holistic health coach. She has been, I'm gonna let her introduce herself, but I wanna set her up first. She is, let's see, hold on, let me do a little muting. She has been teaching, oops, Laura, yeah, there you go. She's been teaching essential oils for almost as long as I have, so a good long time now. And she is a wise, wise woman. I think you guys are really going to enjoy having her in for this class. Her name is Mary. And Mary, if you would like to intro yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Emily. So hi, ladies. Some of you I know, some of you I'm happy to see for the first time. I am also, I have a series of these classes that I teach as well. So it's such a lovely series, and it feels like it goes so well over most of the things that we encounter in our daily lives. So women's health and hormones, there's so much to it. I feel like we could teach an 8-week series just on this, but I think what we have to share with you tonight is going to be really good, a really good foundation. So let's do it.
All right, awesome. Well, if you don't already have an oil handy, you know, I'll give you a second to pull it out, rub it all over your heart, your neck. I just did it. I've also got my diffuser running tonight. Peppermint and wild orange. Hands up in the chat if you have diffused this combo before. I know we've talked about it for energy and uplifting, but it's just one of my longtime favorites as a diffuser blend to diffuse. So, okay, I love talking about women's health and hormones, and if I'm being honest, it does feel a little bit like what to cover, what to focus on, because there is a lot and our body is full of hormones every day. We have almost 100 different hormones in our body. They all have really specific and unique functions to keep us going and keep us alive and feeling well. They make so many things work. They run so many processes, and they're incredibly interconnected as well. So they're also, interestingly, doing a really beautiful dance with each other. So when there's more of one, there's usually less of another, and then they switch it up because they're constantly moving and dancing together and with each other. And while it's important to be working with your physician and hopefully a naturopath or integrative physician, as I'm guessing you guys know by this time, to help you find different things that can help you find balance in your hormones, caring for your body through nutrition and rest and really cleaning up your products, as we've talked about in previous classes, is going to do a giant load of the work for you. So just these simple lifestyle shifts and changes can honestly be a huge support in balancing your hormones. So today we're just going to talk about doTERRA products that can help you on that journey toward hormone balance. And of course, I hope it educates you, I hope it inspires you, and I hope at the end of the day that it really empowers you. So I love the phrase, when you know better, you do better. And with this class, you can take it even a step further. If you can feel a little bit better, you can do a little bit better, because we do know that when you feel better, you're more likely to make positive changes in many, many different areas of your life as well. So, all right, Mary.
I love that, Emily. When you feel better, you can do better. This is the basis of why I do what I do, because I feel like we show up as our best selves when we feel good. So let's take a look at that. We have a scale here. It's as you start to address something, it's a really good frame of reference to kind of take stock of where you're at from the beginning. So I like to go ahead and look at, you know, whether you're into your childbearing years. If that's the case, like, how is your monthly cycle? Is it manageable? Are you feeling different? You know, are there things that feel like they really, really infringe on your living your best self, your best life? If you are feeling like you might be entering perimenopause, what does that look like? And the interesting thing is about hormone balance, there are things that are sort of sneaky that don't even seem like hormones necessarily at first glance, right? We think PMS, we think mood swings, we think cramps, we think maybe hot flashes. But for example, I've been having frozen shoulder for the last year, and it's definitely on the mend, but that turns out it is absolutely hormone based as my hormone levels are shifting. So things like difficulty losing weight, hyper or hypothyroid, adrenal fatigue, changes in your libido, your skin, right? Like, it's not fair. You have that teenage skin and then you're supposed to be done with it, comes back. Anyway, trouble sleeping. Just take a look at all the areas in your life and rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, 0 being no symptoms that bother you, and 10 is like, it is unmanageable. And hopefully from this class, you'll get answers and options for whatever ails you.
Yeah, thanks, Mary. And I'd love it if you guys would, in the chat, maybe put down what your rating is for yourself so that we can get a good idea. Are you a 1? That would be amazing. You would be a unicorn, right? Are you a 10? Like, where are you on this scale? It's going to really help us as we it'll help us understand as we continue through this class. So when we look at the reproductive system of the female body, specifically, we're talking about the ovaries and the fallopian tube, the uterus, the cervix, the external genitalia, and the breast, because they work really closely with all other systems, especially the endocrine system, like the pancreas and the liver. We're going to dive into this stuff in just a bit here. But ovaries secrete estrogen, and of course, estrogen is the women's hormone, right? That helps with women's growth and development, and it's a regulator. So progesterone, another name that we hear a lot, is crucial for fertility. So, but when we're talking about progesterone in non-childbearing years, it's also important overall as a source of anti-inflammatory support for the whole body. So it's also a mood regulator. It also reduces anxiety. So you can see that, you know, just as we've talked in so many classes before, all of these things are really interconnected, and they're impossible to pull out and pull away from one another. So, and then of course, for women who are wanting to get pregnant, progesterone helps you have a viable pregnancy. So that's an important piece as well. So what happens with estrogen is when, if you look at the cycle of a woman's body, when estrogen is high, progesterone is typically low. Does that make sense? And then as the cycle continues through the month, estrogen goes low and progesterone, progesterone goes high. And so you can literally track different symptoms if you're looking at your cycle in a month, which is really interesting. And I'm actually teaching that to my daughter right now. So, and you can kind of get an idea, like, I think my progesterone is having a problem and I'm not really having that switch at the end of my cycle, or it just feels like I'm really running low on some estrogen. Maybe I'm having estrogen dominance symptoms, which is very, very common as well. So really, really important. I already mentioned this, is that nutrition and hydration, sleep, decreasing stress, they all play a really big and a direct role and impact on our endocrine system and our hormones, because that's what supports all of our different organs. Like, this is so connected into each other. And of course, hydration in the body just moves everything through, right? So if you're dehydrated, stuff isn't going to be fluid. It's very, it becomes more and more hard to flush, to flow, to keep things moving, to keep things circulating. So keep that in mind as we continue along.
So take look at that nutritional piece a little closer, I'm sure in each and every class you're hearing about the Lifelong Vitality Trio, because it really is foundational for all other things to operate smoothly and optimally. Our body needs those basic building blocks that we are just not able to get from our food at this point in history. So in terms of how the interplay between this set of vitamins, minerals, and supplements and our hormones, there's this nutritional foundation of, there's the fatty acids, the omegas, there's your different vitamins, vitamin D, vitamin C, that really help to keep your hormone levels optimal. But the really key component of this trio for hormone balancing in particular is the alpha CRS, which is our cellular vitality complex. What this does is it has all kinds of antioxidants and anti-inflammatory agents, as well as like really helping to give us energy. So here's a cool thing. When we talk about the women's health and hormones, we really think about the liver, right? This is an organ that has so much to do with the balance of our hormones. So it's this huge filtering organ that is responsible for hundreds of processes in the body. And one of the main things that it is responsible for is making sure that our hormones are regulated, flowing properly. And so when you think about this alpha CRS, it's kind of like a liver superfood. So I can't say enough good about having this as your foundation at any point when you're dealing with anything in life.
Okay, so another really great product when we're talking about balancing health and hormones is the Bone Nutrient Complex. Has anybody heard of this before in doTERRA's kind of set of offerings? So now at face value, you would just think that it's bioavailable nutrition for women and men. By the way, men need these supplements too. They also, newsflash, have hormones. Men do. We really do focus on the women, but men have hormones as well that need balancing because they also get out of whack as well. So, so the bone nutrient is going to be, just on first glance, it's going to be really great for bone integrity, strength, and overall health, which of course is so important for those with weak and fragile bones, bone fractures, and people that are growing as well. So this is also, FYI, great for kids that are growing, that might have a lot of growth spurts and growing pains. I almost lost the name of that little tidbit there. But also, FYI, there's also extra vitamin D in the bone nutrient blend, as well as magnesium. So those are two really key minerals and nutrients, vitamins that are super powerhouses for hormonal balance in the body. So now I'm not like a super sciencey person. I leave that to my science teacher sister, who is a science teacher. So I can't really tell you about all of the metabolic processes to this and like how well it works, but I can tell you that vitamin D and magnesium are absolutely key when it comes to having a balanced hormonal system in your body, and also play a big part in getting really good rest. So if you feel like you have trouble sleeping, magnesium can be a key support for that as well.
Okay, this is one of my favorite things to talk about because when I kind of got it, it like blew my mind. So there are 3 different kinds of estrogen, right? There is endogenous estrogen, which is what your body produces naturally, just inside your body. And that little funny Y shape is we have these receptor sites in our bodies, and the estrogen that we produce binds to these receptor sites. And then when they do that, that's great. The body is sending that estrogen where it needs to go. And then, there's this communication among various mechanisms in the body, and it does the thing that it's supposed to do, and it works the way it's supposed to work, and it's great, right? So the second type of estrogen is called a xenoestrogen, and a xenoestrogen is foreign. That means it is produced outside our body, and where we find it are either from synthetic substances or from chemicals that we come in contact with every day. So they're in so many products. So this is a place where we really want to start to get familiar with what we are putting on and in our bodies. So the makeup we wear can often have xenoestrogens in it. When we're storing food in plastic, those plastics can have xenoestrogens in them. And this is really hard to get away from, right? I mean, I've tried it. My daughter actually works at a grocery store, and we've tried to go through and have shopping trips where we have absolutely no plastic in our grocery bring home, and it's really, really hard to do. So we can't all be perfect. But just being mindful about the ways that you can take xenoestrogens out of your sphere is a really good idea. So the problem is that these xenoestrogens come in and bind to those same receptor sites that you want your estrogen binding to, and then these disrupt your hormonal system. They're called endocrine disruptors. And they really alter the normal function of our hormones. So what our endocrine system does, what our hormone system does, is it releases these hormones that signal different tissues, telling them what to do. And when chemicals come from the outside and get into our bodies, they mimic our natural hormones, and they block those cell receptor sites, those hormone receptor sites. And this is particularly detrimental to hormone-sensitive organs like the uterus and the breasts, the immune system, the neurological system, as well as human development. So long story short, xenoestrogens bind to these receptor sites and kick out the good estrogen. And it's crazy because it means it turns into this estrogen dominance, even though technically you don't have estrogen dominance, you have xenoestrogen dominance. So that's a lot, super complicated. Let's take a look now, Emily, at what kinds of things xenoestrogen are found in.
Yeah, so you guys, I hope if you're hearing anything in this, because estrogen dominance is something that comes up a lot for a lot of women in the age range that many of us are. And the truth is, when you work with an integrative practitioner or a naturopath, you're going to find out that you may very well not have estrogen dominance. It's just, so a core tenet of holistic health is that your body is healthy and your body is wise and it is so intelligent and it really wants to be well and it wants to be in homeostasis. But these things from the outside come in and muck it all up, and they block off these cell receptors and cover them up so that the proper hormonal messages and communication can't get to the right channel. Does that make sense? So I hope that if there's anything you take away from this class, that's kind of a big one. So where are xenoestrogens found? They're found in things like canned food, farmed fish, tap water, plastics, factory farmed animals, soy and food, and we're going to talk about soy in just a minute too, but also household cleaners, pollution. Fragrance is a huge one. And fragrance, Cass, who shared, who did some education with us a couple weeks ago on skincare, was just telling me this week that manufacturers can hide all kinds of chemicals under the word fragrance. And that's why when you see fragrance, it's something that you want to stay away from. It's not just fragrance, it's just that fragrance stands for all kinds of different things that they hide under the umbrella term of fragrance, right? So it's really just chemicals that have all kinds of other names and meanings under them. But also pesticides, medication, beauty products, personal care products. And so I know that, you know, we can only do what we can do. I'm a big believer in like, let's control the controllables. I may control some things, and Mary honestly may control other things in her life, and Roxanne and Renee and Tanya and Kim and so on. You guys all get to pick and choose. I don't think there's any one of us that can truly control all of these, right? But let's do what we can. So when we know better, we can do better. So sometimes it's just a quick switch of going over from plastic containers to stainless steel, or plastic to glass as much as possible. Removing soy is a big one, to be honest with you. Non-GMO soy and non-GMO corn, also non-GMO sugar and wheat. Those four are kind of four big ones as well. But xenoestrogens really contribute in an extreme way after lots of exposure to them, continuous exposure over time. And I'm not saying this to scare anyone, I'm just saying it to educate you and empower you. But different things like cancers, like breast cancer, like prostate cancer, kind of those big heavy hitters, even things like infertility. And we're finding in young girls these days in their 20s who are experiencing infertility, and males too. Let's not leave the men out, okay? So because of how can your body get the proper signals of hormones when the xenoestrogens are clogging up the receptor sites? So they're basically like stopping the signal from approaching it and clogging it and not letting it through. So if you can think of xenoestrogens as the things to avoid, they're like the big bully in your life and in your body. So avoid as many of these as you possibly can.
So the good news is that we've got loads of options. Certainly among doTERRA, there is a great array of ways that we can get our cleaning needs met and our personal care needs met. So, I mean, I know how fun it is sometimes to go and like pick out new lotions and pick out new cleaning, like good smelling soaps and things. But if we're really being mindful about things like phthalates, parabens, fragrances, and things like that, we are doing ourselves such a favor. doTERRA has like multiple skincare lines that you can choose from depending on what your body's needs are. All kinds of hair care products, cleaning products, even products that feel kind of luxurious. There's the whole spa line, right? So you can mix it up and not feel like you're always having to turn to the same things, which I know can be part of a fun like self-care routine. Another thing that I like to tell people is if you're curious about your own products that you've been using, go to the Environmental Working Group site, EWG, and you can look up any product and it gives a rating of how good it does on in terms of like actually being sort of clean, right? And not exposing you to tons of toxins. So check out the products in your house. And if you find that they are not what you want to be putting on and in your body, know that you've got options here. And also, so remember I was saying there's 3 types of estrogen. So we've talked about estrogen and xenoestrogen, and now Emily is going to tell us a little bit about phytoestrogen, which is so cool.
Yeah, and also great tip on the EWG. I appreciate that you mentioned that because sometimes we forget. And by the way, you guys, I don't know, just a little sneak peek I'll give you. I've heard, little birdie, is that doTERRA is revamping the packaging of many of these products, and specifically, I think, the spa line. So hopefully we'll be seeing a new, a new look and feel to the spa line pretty soon. So keep your eye out for that. Okay, so now besides what's in and around us, we have an awesome product that we can take internally. And we say all of that about xenoestrogens. If you remember, one thing to remember about the phytoestrogen is that it's a xenoestrogen cleanup product. Okay, so phytoestrogen product complex is a product that doTERRA sells. It is going to clean up the xenoestrogens in your body. And I personally know, I don't know, dozens of women that have completely changed their perimenopause and menopausal symptoms, hot flashes, sleep issues from taking this product. So it is really good once it helps unclog the cell receptor sites that are causing so much issue from the xenoestrogens. The phytoestrogen is like this powerhouse to help your body find its way back to a state of balance. So what are phytoestrogens? They're adaptogenic molecules derived naturally from plants. They have two functions. They exert a mildly estrogenic effect in case of hormone deficiency, okay? Or they act as competitive inhibitors that decrease the action of harmful metabolites and block xenoestrogens. So they're doing two different things in an either or state based on what your needs are. And that's kind of the meaning of adaptogenic, is that they are able to adapt. Plants they have an intelligence and they're very smart, and our body recognizes them and they're able to adapt based on what our needs are. So our estrogen is kind of like an estrogen-like therapy, but there's no estrogen. So the different components of the phytoestrogen go in and they literally eat up the xenoestrogens on all the cell receptor sites. They eat them up. It's super cool. And what they do is kind of like being a little bodyguard to all these cells. If you can think of it that way, it's like doing a little protection for these cells. So this is really, really key. If you have any kind of chronic long-term issues, if your body is just felt way out of whack for a while, phytoestrogen could be the product that really goes in and eats up all those harmful xenoestrogens to help minimize the symptoms that you're experiencing, especially if you're dealing with menopause cycle issues or menstrual cycle issues or going into menopause. So I want to mention that there is a very small amount of fermented non-GMO soy in here. And so if you have these, or if you get them, you'll look at the label and you'll note that it does say soy. It's actually it's a fermented non-GMO, so doTERRA does not use any GMO products, and a soy isolate, which actually can be really beneficial to our hormones. If you think about any fermented foods like miso or sauerkraut, kombucha, those can be really beneficial in our bodies. So to sum all of that up, the part that I hope you really hear is that the phytoestrogen it cleans toxic false estrogens off the cells and out of the body, so they're not blocking, they're not interfering with the uptake of our natural hormones like progesterone, testosterone. So most people have plenty of their own hormones, they're just not getting them because xenoestrogens are blocking them, right?
Well, of course, we have to talk about some oils, right? Some oils for hormonal support. So there are a couple that are my favorite. One really good thing to know is that any of the floral oils really are going to be helpful for hormone balancing. So in some ways, you can see which ones you are most drawn to. So that's going to be rose, which I'll talk about more. It's going to be jasmine and neroli and magnolia. Really just any of the florals that you absolutely love, go towards them, wear them, use them. So rose, of course, yeah. The whole Precious Petals line is amazing. Blue tansy is a flower that's in there. And blue, what is the one that's in there, Emily, that's not usually available?
Yeah, blue lotus.
Blue lotus, that's right. Ooh, I love that one. So rose, of course, is the queen. She's the queen of oils. And this is a wonderful one to use on your abdomen if you're having menstrual discomfort. It really helps to promote regular ovulation and it help balance that progesterone, but also just emotionally what it does for us in terms of balance is so lovely. It's like she just heals our emotional wounds, right? Rose and any of the other florals are going to be great for boosting libido. And I like to think of them bringing this softness to things. To me, it's like if you've gone through a lot and you know, you're like strong, tough woman and it's amazing. And sometimes it's nice to not have to hold all of the thing, right? And Rose like just kind of comes in and helps and just softens a little bit for you. So I also just love, like, emotionally, I feel like this one really makes you feel confident, like you are showing up as your best self.
Absolutely. I mean, I love Rose. Is there anybody that doesn't like Rose? That's just not possible, is it? I mean, it is possible. We're all biochemically different. We all have different smell and aroma preferences, but Rose is like near and dear to my heart as well. Also, side note, a massive immune booster. So you'll see Rose being called for supporting the immune system, and really specific things like bacterial issues, even the big ones people have used Rose for. So, okay, so Clary Calm is such a hero product. I know many of us, just like, we love this one too. It's a wonderful blend of a lot of special floral oils. And the number one is being Clary Sage, which is like the women's oil. It's the hormone supporting oil. And interestingly, if you look at there's this thing called the signature of doctrines. And if you look at a Clary Sage flower, it actually looks like what it works in, which is the fallopian tubes and the female reproductive system. It looks like that, which is so cool. And so many of our plants, if you think of walnuts being really wonderful for our brain, beans being great for our kidneys, and so on, there are so many examples of that. Carrots, if you slice them down the center, you'll see that it looks just like an eye. So really interesting that Clary Sage is just such a great support for our hormones and reproductive system. Okay, so it's also great to help just give us that extra balance and to calm things. So what I would suggest with Clary Calm is to use it daily. And a lot of us like to, there's actually a reflexology point on the inner ankle. I mean, I'm not going to show you mine, but on your inner ankle is a great place to, Mary can show you hers, is to apply your Clary Calm, because there is a reflexology point that connects to your hormonal system, your endocrine system. So the nice thing about the oils in here is that they're not going to add estrogen, they're not going to add progesterone, cortisol, they're not doing any of that. They're just helping the structure and the function of the body to feel nice and balanced. So there's also cool, really interesting, some neat oils that we don't normally get access to, that doTERRA isn't able to get enough of, like Palmarosa, Invitex, carrot seed oil. And so this is going to be your heavy hitter during like PMS, heavy periods, hormone balancing, cramps, hot flashes, mood swings, man, this will just like calm everything down. You know, through the month, you kind of feel like this. If you are truly using your Clary Calm, you're going to be a lot more like this, and it's a noticeable difference. So FYI, some people, they either love the smell or they may not love the smell of it. If you don't love the smell of it, rub it on the bottoms of your feet, then put your socks on, or the ankles, like I mentioned before. A lot of people that love this one will use it as a deodorant. That's a really common way for us to use this. And then you hug someone and well, you can't hug anyone now because we're all wearing masks. But when in the olden days, like, you know, in history, when we used to hug people, they'd get a little whiff of your Clary Calm and be like, oh, you smell so good. And you're like, that's my Clary Calm. That's my hormone balancing right in my pits. If there is actually bergamot in here, bergamot is photosensitive. So if you're going to be out in the sun, don't apply this, you know, over your arms and chest, because you could have some skin sensitivity from it. So apply it like under your swimsuit or bikini or whatever, where your skin won't be exposed to the sun. But yeah, I really do love this. And, you know, does anybody have experience using the Clary Calm and want to unmute themselves and share a little story with us? Yes, Kim.
I don't know. I can't see myself because I'm on my phone.
We see
So,
your
okay.
beautiful glowing face.
Right, I know. I have a window behind me. So I've just used it. You know, I have kind of mood swings when I had my period, and now I don't anymore. I'm in whatever I'm in. What's it called? I can't. Yes, yeah. But it really, when I feel like I'm just like, ah, I put it on and I swipe it on my back, and it literally calms me down immediately. I just don't feel so aggro. And I really like it for hot flashes as well.
Yeah, and do you, interesting that you apply it to your back. Do you just kind of rub it in all over?
I do, you know, I play it right onto my spine when I'm feeling really, just where everyone's like kind of driving me crazy and I feel like I'm just going to flip. And it literally calms me immediately. I just feel like I just don't have that aggro feeling anymore.
Yeah.
And then putting for hot flashes, I do again on my lower spine and on the bottoms of my feet, and then like right here on my arm.
Mm-hmm.
And it stopped my hot flashes. I was having them a lot.
That's amazing, and that's interesting because I believe this is called. I think this is called the Sanjiao.
Yes.
Yeah, in Chinese medicine, and there's a line right there on your forearm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I put it right here and right here, and then I just always hit my spine. I feel like things go in really well on the back of my lower spine.
Yeah, awesome. Oh,
yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Okay, so here is the endocrine system in its glory. The glands involved are the pineal gland up here, teeny little gland, the hypothalamus, the thymus, the pituitary gland. Then there's the thyroid, which we're definitely going to get into. The ovaries, or in a man, the testicles. Then there is, let's see, there's where your placenta would grow. There's the adrenal glands that sit on top of your kidneys, the pancreas, and yeah, this is all kind of, like it says, directly involved in growth and development, in our metabolism, the nutrient regulation, how well we're able to distribute nutrients throughout our body and use them, and just overall keeping everything in balance, in homeostasis. So they're sending all these signals via the circulatory system out to organs and tissue. So there's really, you know, there's these traffic patterns that really need to be clear and operational in order for us to feel our best. The cool thing is that essential oils are circulated that same way through our circulatory system. And so they can profoundly benefit all the cells that they encounter as they are going through the body.
Awesome. I love that visual there. That's really helpful. And here's another one. So I love this picture because it's really showing where all of these parts are in the body and giving a great visual. If you can see this, I don't know, some of you might be on a little tiny screen, but you're welcome to screenshot it. So the endocrine system is directly involved in the growth and development, metabolism, and nutrient regulation, as Mary said. So it's kind of a big deal. Yeah, it is really a big deal, and overall balance in the body overall. So there's a system of glands that produce and send hormones to targeted organs and tissues throughout the circulatory system. So that's kind of what we're talking about here. So essential oils, like Mary said, are really beneficial because they're circulated in the same way, which is really fascinating and very cool. So for the pancreas, if you're needing pancreas support, Slim and Sassy is going to be your bread and butter. It's wonderful to support metabolism, regulates blood sugar, and releases excess water. So there's cinnamon in it, which is going to regulate that blood sugar so well. There's ginger, which is going to be really great for circulation. Peppermint is super, just like revving up to the metabolism. And grapefruit is a lymphatic liver. The lymph and grapefruit just go so well together. So they help release that lymphatic and the edema that's going to be held on by your body. So a special little tidbit about grapefruit is it's actually progesterone's best friend. So it is wonderful at helping support progesterone balance. So if you're working through some estrogen dominance and you need some progesterone in your life for reducing anxiety, for being that mood regulator, right? Just start using a lot of extra grapefruit under your tongue or in your water. It's so good in a glass of water. You know, always remember glass or stainless steel, no plastic with these, especially the citrus oils. So we're going to get to the adrenals. We're going to cover the magnolia and the Mito2 max. And of course, we're going to go into the liver. But let's chat about the thyroid next. So it's not a life sentence. Habits are critically important. So when we're talking about the thyroid, we want to make sure that we are checking our stress levels and our water supply. So we have a great blend here for you.
So the thyroid is seriously could be a whole other class, right? But if you are someone who needs thyroid support, we have this wonderful blend for thyroid support. And maybe we can write these in the notes as well, or in the chat. So you would want to do 10 drops, or you can just screenshot it actually. So in a roller bottle, you would combine 10 drops each of clove, myrrh, frankincense, and lemongrass, and then top it off with fractionated coconut oil, and you apply it to your thyroid 3 times a day. And I know that's been a game changer for a lot of people. And just to remind you, let's see, the thyroid is this area right here. I mean, I suppose if you're having thyroid issues, you're well aware of where it is, but it's right here.
Awesome. Okay, so before I dive into the liver, which is such an exciting topic, I know, I want to make sure you guys get the secret code for tonight, so jot it down. The secret code is going to be Superwoman. Okay, so extra points if you write, I am a superwoman. No, not really, but I love putting those, you know, statements on it that claim, right? So it just is so powerful for what that tells your brain. So be sure to jot that down, Superwoman, and we'll throw up the form in just a couple more slides because you guys were almost finished. Okay, so the liver, I could literally talk about the liver in a whole class, but basically, well, let me just say that Mary and I actually went through the same health coaching course through the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, and they spent quite a few webinars on the liver that were a little dry, but what they do is really help you gain respect and recognition of how important the liver is in our bodies, and a high functioning liver is critical for a balanced hormone system. So you're going to drink lots and lots of water. And if you're really focusing on the liver, you're also going to be adding lemon, which I actually, in case you're interested, I have lemon and lime combined in my sparkling water right now. It's so good for your hormones, for your pancreas, for your blood sugar. Lemon and other citruses like grapefruit, tangerine, they're so high in glutathione. And if you've been paying attention recently to integrative doctors who are talking about how to boost your immune system right now to keep coronavirus at bay, they're really focusing on glutathione. I've been noting that over the last few months, and I needed to dig in, like, what is glutathione? Why is that it's so important, right? So these oils, these citrus oils that are really helpful in helping the liver produce more glutathione and trigger glutathione production, actually. So glutathione is the only naturally occurring antioxidant in your body. That's why it's so important. It's naturally occurring antioxidant. Well, I should say progesterone is a precursor to that, but glutathione, the liver processes or produces, and it's an anti-inflammatory, it's an antioxidant. So lemon and the citrus oils trigger that in your body. So a great reason to be drinking citrus oils in your water. So also we have an incredible family product called Xendocrine. There's the oil blend, there's the herbal blend, and then there's an oil blend in capsules and an herbal blend in capsules. And it gets a little bit confusing because they are actually different, but they do have the same name. The oils, of course, do their own thing, and the herbs feed the body. Does that make sense? So they're both complementary and they're both great, and I highly recommend them if you're working on your liver and detoxing and working to cleanse. And they're going to be part of doTERRA's Cleanse and Restore Kit too, which we're actually not really covering in this particular class, but just so you know, you may have seen it before or it's there. Also, this time, FYI, when we are in between stock of Terrazyme, and I know somebody asked about that in a previous class, don't think we've seen Terrazyme come back, and I think it was supposed to be back last month, end of last month, yeah. So Xendocrine Complex in the white bottle can be a little bit of a Terrazyme substitute, I found out while I was doing a lot of kind of deep research for this class. So because there are enzymes and it's going to feed that, the liver processes. So FYI, if you're someone that really needs that Terrazyme, and I know a lot of people do, try the Xendocrine Herbal Complex. This is the one seen on this screen is the black bottle. It's the soft gels with the essential oil blend in it, but you want to focus on the Herbal Complex in the white bottle. Okay, Slim and Sassy, Mary.
And in the chat, Krista was saying she was the one asking about Terrazyme, and I feel you, Krista. I am right there with you. So that's a good tip about the Xendocrine, Emily. Thank you. And then who just said, Laura just said she heard that they'll be back the end of July. So here's hoping. Then, okay, so we are going to take a look at Slim and Sassy. Okay, go ahead and raise your hand if you feel a little iffy about the name. Slim and Sassy, I don't know. It just seems ridiculous. And yet, it's such a good product. So some people really love the way Slim and Sassy tastes. When Emily and I first started teaching about essential oils, I remember we would do this thing where like, okay, who's ready for a party in your mouth? And then we would take a drop of Slim and Sassy and put it on our tongue. And some people love the way that it tastes, that combination of oils, cinnamon and grapefruit and peppermint. And some people are like, that was terrible. I never want to do that again. And by the way, now I totally don't trust you because you told me to do that. So if you feel like that about it and you do not love the taste of it, there are these soft gels. So they also are just a nice way to just sort of grab and go. Sometimes, you know, if you've got your supplements that you're already taking, it's just like, okay, adding it to the mix. 1 to 3 soft gels daily is great to support your metabolism. And you know, if you're feeling like that's an area where things are not working well, if you're feeling like your metabolism is a little sluggish, or because the way that these oils work is they bring our body back into balance, it also works if your metabolism is overactive and you are having trouble with like just not being able to keep weight on. I just do it under my tongue sometimes. I know some people will have it in their purse for like, I'm having, you know, when you're having a little like blood sugar crash, or you know you're not going to be able to eat for a long time, this actually can kind of help your body like, all right, we got this. But I actually just love the taste of it in my water, especially sparkling water.
And I especially love it in my hot water. So one of my favorite things to do in the winter is, you know, take my stainless steel water bottle, and if my family and I are going out cross-country skiing or up to the mountain and it's snowy, I love a couple drops of Slim and Sassy with hot water poured all over the top. It's the easiest and yummiest tea you'll ever need. And by the way, I could be wrong about this too, but I do believe that doTERRA, so for those of you that are new to doTERRA and how they release new products, September is the month when they typically have their global convention. This year, obviously, it's all online. But normally we gather in Utah at a convention with, 30, 40,000 people. And they have a 3-day event where they have science and doctors and hospitals and physicians and veterinarians all over the country, if not the world, on stage talking about the chemistry and the science of essential oils. And then they have a full day of releasing new products, or it's probably half a day of releasing new products. And I know that their interest has specifically been in obesity specifically, but diabetes. And so I think that they might be getting ready to release some new products in September that are specifically formulated and geared toward diabetes. And I actually think they might be renaming Slim and Sassy. And I could be wrong, because this is not official information, but I'm just guessing based on little tidbits I picked up here and there. And I'm really excited for it because the state of our country, I mean, we need these products. So it'll be really great if they do. So, okay, so let's go into adrenals. Anybody ever feel like they have adrenal fatigue, their lack of energy? I mean, I've got my hand up for this one, and it's the first one I go to when I think of rating, putting myself on that rating scale. So the adrenals pump cortisol, and okay, so cortisol is what gives you a burst of energy. So when you wake up in the morning, if you do have healthy adrenals, when your eyes open up, you should feel ready to get up, right? You should feel like, okay, time to get up. And if your adrenals are out of whack, one of the early signs might be that, man, you just feel sluggish and slow and like, it is impossible to get up right now. But a lot of us, especially in our childbearing years and after, we feel like energy is something that we're constantly fighting and lacking. So, but you should, if your body is functioning happily, you should feel like you've got energy to get out of bed and get on with your day. And so that's what the adrenals do. They pump cortisol in the morning and say, time to wake up. And your cortisol is your daytime hormone, and your melatonin is your nighttime hormone. Does that make sense? So cortisol in the morning, but what happens is when you're super duper tired, your body, your adrenals are tired, and they just keep pumping cortisol because they're trying to do the best they can. We're not getting the rest we need. And so it's 8 or 9 at night, and your body is feeling really tired, but you still have hours left of work to do, or you've got laundry, or you've got kids you're trying to get to bed, or whatever it is. So instead of your body producing the melatonin like it should, your body says, oh, you need to wake up. So it starts to make more cortisol. So it pumps the cortisol, and you get this burst of energy around 9:30 or 10, and then you're up till midnight, and then the next day you're exhausted, right? So the adrenals are wonderful, but they need a lot of help because we have to learn how to turn them off and let them take a break when they need to, and then allow them to get ready and primed and pumped for when they need. So magnolia is one of our highest oils in linalool. So linalool is that calming constituent that is in lavender. That's why we know that lavender is so calming, and we are drawn to that. But interestingly, magnolia has up to 3 times the amount of linalool that lavender does. So if you're needing to chill out, soothe some anxiety, get yourself really relaxed, magnolia is a really great one to apply. So what you're going to do is take the magnolia, and by the way, it's a floral again, right? So it's great for hormones. So you're going to rub it on the back of your adrenals. And if you don't know where your adrenals are, you can take your fist and kind of put them back on your lower back on each side of your spine. That's where your kidneys are. And like Mary mentioned in the beginning, the adrenals are like little hats sitting on the top of the kidneys. So that's really where you want to be working on to work on your adrenals. So that's where you're going to apply your magnolia. So, and if you're really wanting to give your adrenals some love, you can do cedarwood and sandalwood with that too. Those are wonderful, and you'll go to sleep and you'll feel amazing. So, and then you're going to want to take Mito 2 Max. We talked about this before. I love my Mito 2 Max. It's a natural energy and stamina complex. It is chock full of adaptogenic herbs. I know you guys have heard that before, but it's got cordyceps and ginseng and ashwagandha and green tea extract. It's like a coffee replacement, but it's not coffee. It's herbal and it's adaptogenic. So it helps your body stay more uplifted, and you don't feel the deep dive that you get from a coffee crash. So, you know, interestingly, mushroom coffee is really popular right now. And a lot of people that are trying to move away from coffee to tea or off of coffee do mushrooms. But doTERRA, I've told you guys before that they are so good at formulating their products, and they're really thoughtful. They came out with Mito 2 Max years ago, including mushrooms in it. So they were kind of ahead of the game in this too. And like, you'll see them being consistently ahead of the game in wellness. So also, when a friend of mine was at the height of her adrenal fatigue, she was taking a Mito 2 Max at bedtime. Can you believe that? I would never do that. She took it at bedtime to put herself to sleep. And you'll know when you don't need to take it at bedtime, because you'll feel a burst of energy instead of going to sleep. So just take it in the morning, take it in the early afternoon. Don't take it too late unless you really, really need it. Okay, yeah, all right, let's move along.
So ladies, we are nearing the end of tonight's presentation. And obviously, like, we've talked about loads of different products tonight. As always, I would say, if you're feeling like you want things to be different, so you don't feel quite like your body works the way you want it to, and you have not yet started the Lifelong Vitality Trio, that's always going to be my initial go-to. But then let's also take a look at some of the other products. So like Emily was just saying, if you're needing the adrenal support, you want the Mito 2 Max and the Magnolia. But if overall you just feel like I need hormonal support, then this is like a sample wellness box with Clary Calm, Bone Nutrient, Phytoestrogen, and Rose. And so there's a reason that we just, again, we feel like doTERRA does a great job of taking care of us as customers. We can order the products that we need in this wellness box and call it our LRP. But in our wellness box, we get this, like, it's that loyalty rewards program where we're getting up to 30% back on anything that we spend. Here we go. We've got, this is $125 value or point value. So you would be getting not only these products at 25% below your retail price, you would also be qualifying for the free oil that month. And if you were getting up to 30% back, that would be $37.50 in product credits that you would be getting for that order, which is like significant, right? That's doTERRA bucks. So if you're curious about where you would find these sample wellness or these wellness boxes, if you're in your shopping cart, there are different categories. Like there's the single oils, there's the body care, there's a section called kits. And under the LRP kits, they have all these different wellness boxes, right? There's like an immune system one, and then women's wellness, and so just take a look in there at some point when you're back in your cart, and it's kind of fun to see what's in there and see how sometimes it's already bundled for you.
Awesome. Okay, so we wanted to give you a sample plan and how you can start to integrate these into your daily routine, because I know it can often feel like there's a lot coming at you. So when you get up in the morning, you want to take your Lifelong Vitality, and if you're doing the Phytoestrogen, you would take it then, and then if you were doing the Mito 2 Max, you would take it then as well. Now, one product I didn't talk about was the Yarrow Palm. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. Mine sits on my desk. I actually just took mine a little bit earlier. So, we sometimes just can't talk about everything, even though we want to, but they have been really good for me, and they're really great for balancing hormones as well. So I didn't want to leave that out. But anyway, in the morning, when you would take your supplements and do whatever oil concoction you're doing, whether it's for your adrenals or it's for your hormones or your pancreas, your blood sugar levels, or it's your Clary Calm, whatever you're doing for your individual plan, you're going to roll it on here, right, in the morning. And in the evening, you do it again, the Lifelong Vitality, the Phytoestrogen, and then again, roll on your oils again. And I included a very well-loved Superwoman blend. This is why I gave you that secret code. So this is actually created from Dr. Marisa Snyder. She is a women's hormones expert. She has a podcast, and she has, this book was like on the #1 bestseller, New York Times bestseller for ever, maybe like about a year ago. The Essential Oils Hormone Solution. So if you really need to dive deeper into this topic of hormones and hormone balancing and want to use plants and herbs and essential oils to do it, I highly, highly recommend this book. And that actually concludes our class. I need to, yeah, I do want to say that next week is our very last class in this 8-week series. So just a reminder, we took 1 week off for Father's Day a couple weeks ago, and that pushed us back by a week. So originally on the schedule, tonight was going to be the last class, but we're a week off. So make sure you show up next week for Oils for Pain Management. We're going to be talking about oils specifically for anybody that's struggling with anything that's bone pain, joint pain, muscle pain, specific ways and protocols and oils to use. And bring your questions. Come ready. It's gonna be a good class. It's a fun topic as well. And of course, a little touch of holistic health in there as well. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording if I can. It just takes me a second. Stop the recording.
Did everyone get a copy, or was everyone able to grab the Superwoman blend? Yeah, okay, I just want to.
Oh, okay, and I want to stop, and did we have any questions in the Q&A? Did anybody have any questions that we should cover? Any questions? Any great experiences that you guys would like to share about these oils for balancing your hormones, or things that you learned or would like to try?
I would like to share that I agree with both of you about LLV being like the main thing, like your basis of women's health, because that's where I saw the difference. Like oils and everything else really help you, but it's just the vitamins, all the supplements really like emphasize everything else. So if any of you guys are not on these vitamins, I really recommend them.
Awesome. That's a great tip. Thank you. Michelle, were you a person like me that was like a non-believer in vitamins and supplements beforehand?
Yes, I was. I'm one of those people that I hate taking medication, so pills, like swallowing pills and all that. And then it was pretty intense for me seeing how many I would have to take with the whole pack. But I started out slow. I started with half of it, of the recommendation, and now I'm so used to it, and I'm I have an organizer for them, and it's just, I prefer to just do it because I totally see the difference.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I've heard over and over and over again how, like, sometimes you really notice the difference as you start taking them. But oftentimes you really notice the difference when you stop taking them.
Yeah.
It's like your body goes, wait, what? You just like yanked the ground out from under me.
Yeah, because you get used to the new norm without, it kind of happens gradually because it's this buildup of nutrition and nutrients in your body. And so you don't necessarily notice it overnight. Some people do, but I think most of us don't until we forget to order them for a month. And then we regress, and it's like, oh, dang, like all of that brain fog came back. Oh, all those aches and pains that kind of slowly disappeared are back again. And yeah, my husband notices it too. Both of us we just are big fans. Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else using the oils or any of those other supplements for hormone balancing that would like to share anything? All right, well, if not, then we are finished here. I just added the class attendance sheet to the chat, so make sure you grab that. And Mary, thank you so much for coming on and adding your expertise.
My pleasure. Yeah, my pleasure. Nice to meet you all or see you all again.
Yeah, it's good to have you here. And then we'll see you for the last class next week. It's going to be a fun one. All right, bye, you guys. Have a nice evening.